It's the Halloween classic that practically defined a generation. You know the pinstripe suit, the chaotic energy, and that unforgettable soundtrack. But what if I told you the movie you love was almost a grim, humorless horror film? That the ghost with the most was nearly a winged demon? And that Michael Keaton is only on screen for about 17 minutes? The story behind Beetlejuice is just as strange and unusual as the film itself. These are the 30 facts that reveal the on-set chaos, the studio battles, and the happy accidents that made a masterpiece. Fact 1. It was originally a straight-up horror film. The Beetlejuice you know and love, filled with manic comedy and calypso music, started as something way, way darker. The original screenplay by Michael McDowell was a gruesome horror story. In that version, the Maitlands' car crash was graphically shown, with Barbara's arm being crushed as they slowly drowned. Beetlejuice himself wasn't a charismatic con artist. He was a murderous, winged reptilian demon whose main goal was to kill the Dietzes, not just scare them away. Fact 2. Beetlejuice wanted to assault Lydia. Sticking with that grim original script, the plot took an even more disturbing turn. The infamous wedding scene wasn't about marriage at all. The demon Beetlejuice's real intention was to sexually assault Lydia, who was also supposed to have a younger sister. It was only after Tim Burton signed on to direct that the script was rewritten with a more comedic, quirky tone, transforming it from a hard R-rated horror flick into the PG-rated classic we have today. Fact 3. The studio hated the title Beetlejuice. As wild as it sounds, Warner Brothers executives were not fans of the title Beetlejuice. They thought it was confusing and off-putting and pushed hard for a much more generic name, such as House Ghosts. Tim Burton, totally frustrated with the suggestion, sarcastically offered an even worse alternative, Scared Sheetless.
It was the exact opposite of everything else I'd gotten. You know, most of these scripts were like, A to B to C, all tied up in a neat little packet. I'm gonna get this script that makes no sense, it has no real story.
To his horror, the studio actually considered using it. Burton stood his ground, and thankfully, Beetlejuice stuck. Fact 4. Michael Keaton wasn't the first choice for Beetlejuice. It's impossible to imagine anyone but Michael Keaton in the role, right? But he was far from the first choice. Tim Burton's personal pick was the legendary entertainer Sammy Davis Jr. The studio, on the other hand, was looking at comedians like Dudley Moore and Sam Kinison. It was producer David Geffen who suggested Keaton, but Burton wasn't familiar with his work. It took a meeting to convince Burton, and even then, Keaton himself turned down the role multiple times before finally saying yes.
I showed up on the set and I took off, and I kind of did a symbolic or a metaphoric kind of, is everybody with me here?
Fact 5. Keaton improvised most of his iconic lines. Once he was on board, Michael Keaton went all in, improvising up to 90% of his dialogue. He built his wild performance on the idea that the character had existed across all times and spaces, which led to the erratic personality, the crazy hair, and the moldy face. He said he wanted the character to look like he'd stuck his finger in an electrical socket. The look was finished off with some moss from a hobby store and clever makeup to make his nose look broken.
The character keeps his pitch, you know, once you get inside him, he runs you, you know, and then he starts to talk, or speak, and so.
Fact 6, the ghost with the most has only 17 minutes of screen time. For a character who is the title of the film and its most memorable part, Beetlejuice has surprisingly little screen time. According to fan calculations, Michael Keaton is only on screen for about 17 minutes of the movie's 92-minute runtime. His entire performance was shot in just 2 weeks, but it was so impactful that it completely defined the film and earned him critical acclaim. Fact 7, the Day-O scene was a last-minute idea. The most iconic scene in the movie, the Day-O dinner party possession, almost didn't happen. The original script had a much less exciting scene where a vine-patterned carpet came to life and attacked the guests. It was actress Catherine O'Hara who suggested using calypso music to make the scene more dynamic.
I done a drink of rum.
Then, fellow actor Jeffrey Jones proposed Harry Belafonte's Banana Boat Song. Even then, Tim Burton was skeptical and didn't think it was funny, but the scene became an absolute sensation. Fact 8. The shrimp attack was a feat of practical effects. The hilarious climax of the day-o scene, where the guests' shrimp cocktails morph into hands and grab their faces, was done entirely with practical effects. Crew members were hiding under the dinner table, each wearing a shrimp glove. On cue, they would thrust the puppet hands up to grab the actors' faces. The timing was never quite perfect, which made the actors' surprised reactions genuinely authentic. Fact 9. Tim Burton's commitment to practical effects. Tim Burton was adamant about using old-school practical effects instead of computer-generated ones to give the film its quirky, handmade feel. For instance, the scene where Adam Maitland is decapitated was done live on set with clever camera work and a fake skull. This commitment is a huge reason the film has such a timeless charm and stands out from a world of CGI. Fact 10. The afterlife was designed to look like a DMV. The drab, bureaucratic waiting room of the netherworld was actually Michael Keaton's idea. He suggested that the afterlife should feel like a miserable unemployment office, creating a hilarious contrast between the mundane reality of death and the chaotic energy of Beetlejuice. This concept gave us some of the film's best gags, like the flattened roadkill man and the magician's assistant, who was sawed in half. Fact 11. Many famous actresses auditioned for Lydia. Winona Ryder immortalized the role of Lydia Dietz, but she had some serious competition. Actresses like Sarah Jessica Parker, Brooke Shields, Lori Loughlin, Diane Lane, Juliette Lewis, and Jennifer Connelly all auditioned for the part. The runner-up was apparently Alyssa Milano. Burton chose Ryder after seeing her in the film Lucas, and her portrayal of the strange and unusual teen became a touchstone for goths everywhere. Fact 12. Angelica Houston was the original Delia Dietz. The wonderfully eccentric Delia Dietz was played perfectly by Catherine O'Hara, but she wasn't the first pick. Angelica Houston was originally cast in the role but had to drop out because of an illness. O'Hara initially turned the part down, but Tim Burton flew out to meet with her personally and convinced her to join the cast. The rest is history.
I guess a bad stepmother. I'm misdirected, ill-directed. A woman who thinks she's an artist and was just too defensive and too insecure and too much of a nutcase to succeed at anything, including being a mother or stepmother or wife.
Fact 13, a real-life love connection was made on set. Catherine O'Hara's casting led to more than just a great performance. On set, she met production designer Bo Welch. The two fell in love during the making of the film and were married in 1992. They are still together today and have 2 children, a real-life romance born from the chaotic world of Beetlejuice. Fact 14, Lydia was supposed to die in the original ending. In another dark twist from the original script, the film was supposed to end with Lydia dying in a fire. The idea was that she would then be able to join her ghost friends, the Maitlands, in the afterlife. Ultimately, the writers decided this sent the wrong message to young audiences and rewrote it for the much happier ending, where Lydia embraces life and dances with her ghostly pals.
I've learned a lot about special effects and directing from the director Tim Burton, who's great. It's going to go down in my memory as one of the great movies that I'll ever work on.
Fact 15, the film won an Oscar for its makeup. The incredible creativity on display was officially recognized by Hollywood. In 1989, Beetlejuice won the Academy Award for Best Makeup. The award celebrated the amazing work of artists V. Neil, Steve Laporte, and Robert Short, who brought characters like Beetlejuice, the shrunken head guy, and all the other strange residents of the netherworld to life. Speaking of bringing things to life, if you're enjoying these strange and unusual facts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next video. Fact 16, the film was a box office smash hit. Despite its bizarre premise and the studio's initial doubts, Beetlejuice was a huge financial success. Made on a modest budget of $15 million, it went on to gross over $74 million in the US, making it the 10th highest grossing film of 1988 domestically. This success helped launch Tim Burton's career and established his signature gothic yet playful style in Hollywood. Fact 17, the famous black and white suit was an instant icon. Along with the makeup and wild hair, Beetlejuice's black and white striped suit is instantly recognizable. The costume design became a symbol of the film's unique aesthetic and has remained one of the most popular Halloween costumes for decades, solidifying its place in pop culture history. Fact 18, a sequel was planned called Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. The film's success immediately led to talks of a sequel. The most infamous idea was a script titled Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. The bizarre plot would have sent the Dietz family to Hawaii to develop a resort, only to find it was being built on an ancient burial ground. Beetlejuice would have been summoned to handle the angry spirits. Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder actually agreed to do it, but only if Tim Burton directed. And the project eventually just fell apart. Fact 19, the film spawned a popular animated series. While the movie sequel stalled, Beetlejuice found new life on television. From 1989 to 1991, an animated series ran for 4 seasons. It reimagined Beetlejuice and Lydia as best friends who went on wild adventures in the netherworld, toning down the darker elements for a younger audience and introducing the character to a whole new generation. Fact 20, there was also a hit Broadway musical. The story's legacy continued to grow with a popular, Tony-nominated Broadway musical that premiered in 2018. The stage adaptation brought the world of the film to life with new songs and elaborate sets, earning 8 Tony nominations and further cementing Beetlejuice's status as a cultural phenomenon. Fact 21, the name Beetlejuice comes from a star. The character's name is actually spelled Betelgeuse, which is a nod to the giant red star in the Orion constellation. This little astronomical reference adds another layer to the character's otherworldly and ancient origins, hinting that he's a cosmic entity far beyond a simple house ghost. Fact 22, the sandworms were created with stop motion. The terrifying sandworms of Saturn were created using Tim Burton's signature stop motion animation. Effects consultant Rick Heinrichs designed their iconic look with those black and white stripes and a head within a head. Rod puppets and larger models were also used to bring the creatures to life, creating one of the film's most memorable monsters. Fact 23, the film's outdoor scenes were filmed in a real Vermont village. While the movie is set in the fictional town of Winter River, Connecticut, all the exterior scenes were actually filmed in the very real village of East Corinth, Vermont. The production built the Maitland's iconic hilltop house as just a facade for filming, and the charming small town became the perfect backdrop for the story. Fact 24, the sequel finally arrived after 36 years. After decades of false starts, a sequel titled Beetlejuice was finally released in 2024. The film saw Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara all reprise their roles. The story follows an adult Lydia and her rebellious teenage daughter, played by Jenna Ortega, who accidentally reopens the portal to the afterlife after a family tragedy brings them back to Winter River. Fact 25, the sequel also relied on practical effects. Following the spirit of the original, the sequel heavily featured practical effects to recreate the handmade charm of the first film. Keaton praised Burton for sticking to this vision, noting that the cast was acting with real sets and makeup, not against a green screen. This commitment to practical magic was seen as essential to honoring the original's legacy. Fact 26, actress Monica Bellucci endured 3 hours of makeup daily. For the sequel, actress Monica Bellucci, who played Beetlejuice's wife, underwent a grueling 3-hour makeup process every single day. This dedication shows how the sequel continued the original's commitment to elaborate, practical character design, a tradition that won the first film its Oscar. Fact 27, Jenna Ortega's casting linked 2 Burton generations. The casting of Jenna Ortega as Lydia's daughter was a perfect bridge between generations of Tim Burton fans. Coming off her massive success in the Burton-produced series Wednesday, Ortega's involvement brought a fresh face to the franchise while honoring its gothic roots, attracting both nostalgic millennials and a new Gen Z audience. Fact 28. Danny DeVito has a cameo in the sequel. Tim Burton is known for working with the same actors, and he brought a fan favorite into the sequel. Burton offered his friend Danny DeVito a small but memorable cameo as a janitor in the afterlife. This reunited DeVito with both Burton and Michael Keaton, with whom he had worked on Batman Returns and Dumbo. Fact 29. Why Charles Dietz wasn't in the sequel. Fans of the original noticed the absence of Jeffrey Jones as Charles Dietz. Due to serious legal issues in his personal life, Jones was not asked to return for the sequel. The filmmakers addressed his character's absence with a quirky stop-motion sequence explaining that Charles had died in a plane crash and was subsequently eaten by a shark. Fact 30. The film's legacy as a millennial Halloween favorite. Beetlejuice endures because it perfectly balances horror, comedy, and heart. Its unique visual style, memorable characters, and themes of family and belonging have made it a perennial Halloween classic. From TV marathons to endless costume inspiration, its chaotic spirit has haunted and delighted audiences for decades, cementing its legacy as a true masterpiece of strange and unusual cinema. Bonus fact: the first introduction to Jack Skellington. The skeleton head on top of Beetlejuice's merry-go-round is one of the first appearances of Jack Skellington, the main character of The Nightmare Before Christmas, which Burton co-wrote and produced. From a dark horror script to a pop culture juggernaut, the story of Beetlejuice is a testament to creative chaos. It's a film that broke the rules, trusted its instincts, and created a world where the weird and the wonderful could thrive. It's no wonder that after all these years, we still can't help but say his name. What's your favorite Beetlejuice moment? Was it the Deo dance, the sandworms, or one of the ghost's classic one-liners? Let us know in the comments below. And for more deep dives into your favorite cult classics, make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching.